I felt I needed to drink, just to conquer, just to get rid of the bad dreams that I had. I remember one day I was so sick, and I prayed, and I said, "Oh Lord, I can't do this anymore. I want to stop drinking, but I don't know how." So I remember really crying out to God,
Tribal trails, tribal trails.
We are visiting with C.Mills.
Yep.
So he's originally from
I was born in Moose Factory.
Moose Factory.
Yeah, in James Bay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I've been living in Sudbury for quite a few years now, since I was a teenager.
Tell me about your life in Moose Factory and how you got here.
When I did my grade school up to grade 8 in Moose Factory, and because there was no high school back then, we had to come south to go into high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sent to North Bay to go to high school. So I went to grade 9 there, and I thought I was going to go back to Moose Factory, after my year was up in grade 9. But my dad decided to go to school, Cambrian College, to take a course here in Sudbury. So they moved here, which they thought was going to be temporary. So when I finished my school in June, I came here to Sudbury to join them, and we ended up staying here.
So you finished high school here?
I did grade 9 in North Bay.
Yeah.
And after grade 9, I was troubled, like I had a lot of problems and stuff. So I didn't go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I just wandered the streets and stuff. I ended up going to Toronto and stuff and hitchhiking, going out west and that. But when I came back to Sudbury a few years later, I finished my high school, got my grade 12, which was a struggle, but I did it.
That's good. Yeah. So you say troubled, what's that? When
I came to Sudbury there, I got in with the wrong crowd of young guys who were drinking. That was before the drugs, it was the drinking back then. So I got into the drinking, and I ended up being homeless. Like my mom and dad couldn't keep me because they were living in poverty. There was no room for me. Yeah, so I ended up being on the streets, and then ending up having a serious trouble with alcohol. Yeah, and so that was kind of the story of my life. My mom and my grandmother, they were very spiritual. They used to read the Bible and stuff and sing songs to me when I was growing up, and I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had sort of a little bit of a Christian upbringing, because I always knew, what the Bible said, and I knew it through the music that my mom used to sing to me, the old-fashioned hymns and that.
So you always had a knowledge of God?
Yeah, always have, yeah. At first, growing up, we went to the Catholic church in Moose Factory. I went to Sunday school and that, I was the altar boy, and yeah, so I always had an early upbringing in the Bible and stuff. So I knew, even all through my struggles and stuff, I always knew right from wrong. I always knew that nope, this isn't the way to live. We can't be living like this. There's a better way. I always knew that, and my mom was always there to tell me to. She said she always prayed for me. That I wouldn't be drinking and stuff like that. There. My dad was a chronic alcoholic too, so he couldn't stop drinking. I grew up with partying in the house and stuff, and people drunk all the time. So that's the only life I was introduced to as a young teenager.
So what helped you kind of move along, trying to get your life back?
I went through periods where I'd stop, and I'd be on the right track for a while. I'd take a course here in school, a course there. At the time, I still didn't have still didn't finish my high school yet, until somebody said, you can go there and do some upgrading. You'll get your diploma and stuff. And so I went there. And oh man, it was a struggle just to get through all that math and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I did it. It was a little while later before I conquered with God's help, the drinking. Mm-hmm. I moved to Timmins, up north there, yeah. And for some reason, I got back on drinking again in Timmins, and I was having anxiety attacks and the panic attacks and stuff, and I felt I needed to drink, just to get rid of the bad nerves I had, just to deal with life, and stuff, and it was really hard. And my drinking was getting worse. I was going to detox. I was going to jail and getting in trouble. Police were taking me home and stuff. And I remember one day I was so sick. Oh, and I prayed. And I said, "Oh Lord, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. It's so hard for me. I want to stop drinking, but I don't know how." So I remember really crying out to God. I was so serious, and I raised my hands. I got on my knees. I put my hands up in the air, and so I went back to bed. I went to sleep for a while because I was sick, and the next day, and I was waiting for that urge to drink again. And it didn't come. I said, "Oh, I don't feel like drinking today." I did some stuff there. I ate, had something to eat. Next day, no urge to drink, and all that week, I didn't drink. And then the months went by, still didn't drink, and to me it was a miracle. I just couldn't believe it. Oh, I don't feel like drinking, and I've been sober ever since. And this was since 2006.
Wow.
Yep.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
What kind of church did you
Yeah.
go to?
Well, in Sudbury, it was the beginning of the Sudbury First Nations Church. We met in different people's homes. This guy, a missionary from the States, his name is Stuart. We met at his place, to do some Bible studies and stuff, and to do some singing. And I remember I really enjoyed the singing. Oh man, this is good. I really like that. So I helped, did some singing together and stuff. But I kept falling back, my old ways and stuff again. I moved to Timmins, and it was actually in Timmins where I did stop drinking completely. So when I was in Timmins, I did visit the occasional church, and met some really good people that were helping me along too. But it wasn't until I really cried out to the Lord that I just couldn't do it by myself, and I really meant it with all my heart, like I really cried out to Him, and I really totally believe that He delivered me that very day, never desire never came back. I still struggle with the anxiety and stuff, I know it'll probably always be there, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. Wouldn't be here talking to you in this interview if it was.
Did God talk to your heart? Do you want to give your life to Jesus Christ? You can do that right away and pray to God and commit your life to Jesus Christ. If you need help, call us at 306-961-2588. We'd love to hear from you.